Los Angeles, January 1947. The City of Angels was buzzing with Hollywood dreams, actors chasing stardom, directors chasing fame, and thousands of hopefuls flooding the streets in search of their big break. But behind the glitter and glamour, Los Angeles also carried a darker side: organized crime, corruption, and a growing underworld. On the morning of January 15th, a discovery in a vacant lot would shake the entire nation. A discovery so gruesome, it would become one of the most infamous unsolved murders in American history. That day, Elizabeth Short's name would vanish, replaced forever by a haunting nickname, the Black Dahlia. On the quiet morning of January 15th, 1947, Los Angeles woke up to just another day. The war was over, the city was growing fast, and people were dreaming big about the future. But in a small neighborhood near Limer Park, a young mother and her little daughter were walking along the sidewalk when something unusual caught their eye. At first, it looked harmless, almost ordinary. In an empty lot ahead of them, something white lay sprawled out on the ground. To the mother, it looked like a discarded mannequin, the kind department stores used for their window displays. And mannequins dumped in vacant lots weren't exactly rare in the 1940s. She thought nothing of it, at least, not at first. But as she got closer, a feeling of unease crept in. The mannequin wasn't just lying there, it was posed, carefully positioned, almost like someone wanted it to be found. The mother's steps slowed, her grip tightening on her daughter's hand. Something about it felt wrong, deeply wrong. And then, with a sickening jolt of realization, the truth hit her. It wasn't a mannequin. It wasn't plastic or lifeless store decor. It was the body of a young woman, cut clean in half, drained of blood, and left in the grass like some kind of horrific art piece. The mother's scream tore through the still air, shattering the calm of the morning. Neighbors rushed to the scene, and within minutes, police were called. What they found shocked even the most hardened detectives: an image so grotesque and so deliberate that it would burn itself into Los Angeles history forever. That was the morning the world first met the Black Dahlia. Once the shocking news of the discovery spread, the first question on everyone's mind was simple but haunting: who was she? The young woman's identity quickly came to light. She was Elizabeth Short, a 22-year-old from Massachusetts who had moved to Los Angeles chasing a dream shared by thousands of hopefuls: a shot at Hollywood stardom. Elizabeth was known among friends and acquaintances as lively, ambitious, and full of charm. She had that classic allure: dark, glossy hair, striking pale skin, and a style that made her stand out, even in a city filled with aspiring actors and performers. People remembered her laughter, her sparkle, the way she lit up a room. Yet, behind that sparkle was also a woman who had faced hardship, disappointment, and loneliness, the kind that comes from leaving home and stepping into a city that can be both glamorous and cruel. Her move to Los Angeles was fueled by hope, as so many others had done. She worked odd jobs, mingled in Hollywood circles, and dreamed of walking the red carpet one day. Friends described her as determined and independent, someone who refused to settle for mediocrity. But as anyone who has chased a dream knows, ambition in Hollywood often comes with shadows, long nights, uncertain paths, and people who may not have your best interests at heart. The press quickly picked up on her story, painting her in a way that was both sensational and tragic. They dubbed her the Black Dahlia, inspired by her dark hair and the enigmatic allure she seemed to carry even in life. Suddenly, Elizabeth was more than a young woman, she became a symbol. A symbol of beauty, ambition, and ultimately, the danger that can lurk beneath the glitter of Los Angeles. Even today, it's hard not to feel a deep sadness when imagining her story. A young woman, full of dreams and potential, whose life was brutally cut short. Elizabeth Short's identity is not just a name, it's the beginning of a tale that would grip the nation, a story that still haunts Los Angeles and true crime enthusiasts across America. When detectives finally got a close look at Elizabeth Short's body, they were confronted with something so horrifying it seemed almost unreal. This wasn't a simple murder, it was calculated, meticulous, and grotesquely deliberate. Her body had been severed cleanly at the waist, a precision that made the crime scene feel like a scene from a macabre surgeon's notebook rather than a street corner in Los Angeles. But it wasn't just the dismemberment that shocked them. Her face had been carved into what became known as a Glasgow smile, cuts stretching from the corners of her mouth toward her ears, creating an eerie, permanent grin. Even among seasoned officers, the sheer cruelty and attention to detail sent shivers down their spines. This was a murder designed to terrify, to send a message, and perhaps, to mesmerize the public. What made it even more chilling was how clean everything was. There was no blood at the scene. Someone had gone to extraordinary lengths to stage this body, almost like an artist arranging a painting. The idea that a human life could be treated with such precision, stripped of dignity, and left like a display haunted everyone who saw it. The crime wasn't just violent, it was intimate, personal, and terrifyingly controlled. As word spread through the city, ordinary citizens couldn't help but feel a creeping fear. If someone could commit such a crime and leave a body like this in a public space, was anyone truly safe? Parents clutched their children, neighbors whispered warnings, and Los Angeles felt a little smaller, a little darker, overnight. Elizabeth's death wasn't just a tragedy, it was a mirror reflecting the hidden darkness of a city many only knew for its glamour. And yet, amid the horror, a strange fascination took hold. The precision, the mystery, and the unanswered questions drew people in. They wanted to understand who could do such a thing, and why. Elizabeth Short's murder wasn't just a crime, it was a puzzle, one that would haunt detectives, journalists, and the American public for decades to come. As news of Elizabeth Short's murder spread, the city of Los Angeles, and soon the entire nation, was captivated. Newspapers rushed to cover every detail, some factual, some sensationalized, painting a portrait of a young woman who was both glamorous and tragically doomed. Reporters competed to break the next story, and with each new article, the case became bigger, stranger, and harder to ignore. The media quickly gave her a name that would live forever in infamy, the Black Dahlia. It was a nickname inspired by her dark hair, her sense of style, and the mysterious aura she seemed to carry even in life. But behind the catchy headlines, there was a human being, a young woman with dreams, ambitions, and loved ones, whose life had been violently cut short. For many, the nickname was exciting, intriguing, even glamorous, but for her family, it was a cruel reminder that Elizabeth's life had been reduced to a story, a spectacle, and a mystery. Newspapers ran lurid photographs of Elizabeth, some in life, some staged from crime scene photos. The public devoured every word, every image, almost as if they could piece together the truth by sheer attention. Lines were drawn between victim and enigma, and people speculated endlessly about her life, her choices, and the circumstances that had led her to that vacant lot. Hollywood gossip mixed with true crime, and suddenly, the Black Dahlia case became bigger than the city itself. The press frenzy also fueled a strange mix of fear and fascination. People felt horror at the brutality of the crime, but they also couldn't look away. It was as if Los Angeles itself had turned into a character in this story, a city of lights and dreams, now shadowed by terror and curiosity. Elizabeth's death became a story told in every corner cafe, whispered in every office, and debated in every home, capturing a collective imagination that refused to let go. Yet, amid the headlines and speculation, the reality of Elizabeth's murder, the human tragedy, the loss, the unanswered questions, remained. The media frenzy, while informative, also obscured the truth, blending fact with speculation and creating a story that was both real and mythic. The Black Dahlia was no longer just Elizabeth Short, she had become a symbol, a legend, and a chilling reminder of the dark side lurking beneath the glitter of Los Angeles. The moment Elizabeth Short's body was discovered, the Los Angeles Police Department knew they were facing one of the most disturbing and high-profile cases in the city's history. Detectives poured over the crime scene, examining every detail, every cut, every clue left behind. The case wasn't just gruesome, it was perplexing. Whoever had committed this crime had done so with chilling precision, leaving almost no physical evidence to trace. Hundreds of detectives were assigned to the case, working day and night to interview witnesses, track Elizabeth's last movements, and follow any lead that might point to her killer. Officers knocked on doors, questioned neighbors, and dug into the lives of everyone who might have crossed paths with her. But for every promising lead, there seemed to be a dead end waiting just around the corner. Frustration and urgency hung over the investigation like a heavy fog. The sheer scale of the effort reflected both the horror of the crime and the fear it stirred in Los Angeles. Citizens watched the police comb through the city, hoping for answers, while simultaneously feeling a creeping sense of dread. If someone could commit such a calculated, brutal act and vanish without a trace, what did that say about the city's safety? Detectives themselves knew they were racing not just against time, but against a killer who might be one step ahead at every turn. Every clue, no matter how small, was scrutinized. Police searched Elizabeth's apartment, her acquaintances' homes, and even the nightclubs and streets she frequented. They attempted to reconstruct her final hours, questioning friends, coworkers, and anyone who might shed light on her movements. Yet, the puzzle remained stubbornly incomplete. Every promising lead seemed to crumble, leaving more questions than answers, and a city desperate for closure. Despite the monumental effort, the case ultimately became a symbol of frustration and mystery for the LAPD. Detectives, no matter how skilled, were confronted with a crime that defied explanation, a murder that was calculated, cold, and shrouded in shadows. The Black Dahlia investigation wasn't just about solving a case, it was about facing the unsettling truth that sometimes, even in the heart of a bustling city, darkness can strike with impunity. As the investigation into Elizabeth Short's murder unfolded, something unexpected, and almost surreal, began to happen. People started coming forward, claiming they had killed her. Dozens of confessions poured in, each one stranger and more unbelievable than the last. Some were from mentally unstable individuals seeking attention, while others seemed driven by a twisted desire to be part of the story that had captivated the nation. Police officers, who were already under immense pressure, had to carefully sift through every claim. Each confession was dissected, compared to evidence, and cross-checked with witness statements. Some confessed in painstaking detail, describing acts and locations that ultimately didn't match the crime scene. Others seemed to fabricate stories almost casually, offering lurid and shocking accounts just to be noticed. The false confessions created chaos, slowing the investigation and distracting detectives from real leads. Each time an alleged killer was investigated, hours and days of work were consumed, only to end in dead ends. For the detectives, it was frustrating; for the public, it was tantalizing. Headlines splashed across newspapers, each new confession adding another layer to the mystery. For the families of Elizabeth Short, the confessions were agonizing. Every claim stirred a flicker of hope that maybe the case would finally be solved, only for it to be crushed again when the confessor was proven innocent. The emotional toll was enormous. The mother who had discovered Elizabeth's body, the relatives left behind, and the city at large were all trapped in a cycle of anticipation and disappointment. And yet, amid the confusion, the false confessions revealed something deeper: the dark fascination people had with the case. Elizabeth Short's death had not only captured the attention of law enforcement but also the imagination of the public, inspiring a mix of horror, curiosity, and obsession. Her story had become larger than life, and the countless false claims were a chilling reminder of how one tragedy could ripple through a city, and the nation, for decades to come. Just when the city thought it couldn't get any stranger, the letters began to arrive. Newspapers across Los Angeles received mysterious notes, carefully cut from magazine clippings, each one signed with a chilling pseudonym, the Black Dahlia Avenger. The letters weren't just taunts, they were precise, calculated, and seemed to suggest that the killer was watching the investigation unfold with dark amusement. Some letters even contained personal items belonging to Elizabeth Short, her birth certificate, photographs, and other keepsakes. Whoever sent them wasn't just cruel, they were sending a message. It was as if the killer wanted the world to know that he was in control, that he could toy with the authorities and the public alike. The letters added a psychological layer to the case, turning a brutal murder into a terrifying game of cat and mouse. Detectives pored over every word, every cutout, and every scrap of evidence within the letters. They tried to trace the handwriting, the paper, the type of glue used, anything that might lead them to the sender. But time and again, their efforts ended in frustration. The letters left no fingerprints, no leads, only a growing sense of dread that the killer was not only clever but taunting them personally. The city, meanwhile, was captivated. Newspapers printed the letters in full, feeding a public obsession that mixed fear with fascination. Readers debated whether the letters were authentic or the work of a prankster. Some believed the letters were from the real killer, while others dismissed them as opportunistic hoaxes. Yet, even skeptics couldn't help but feel a chill reading the taunting words. They were a reminder that Elizabeth's story was far from over. Ultimately, the letters became another haunting chapter in the Black Dahlia case. They reminded everyone that the murder wasn't just a crime, it was a mystery that refused to be solved. Whoever sent them had vanished into the shadows, leaving the city to wrestle with a terrifying question: was the killer still out there, watching, waiting, and playing a dangerous game with the living? As the investigation dragged on, the list of suspects grew longer and more perplexing. From drifters and petty criminals to wealthy doctors and Hollywood insiders, virtually anyone who had crossed paths with Elizabeth Short could fall under suspicion. The sheer variety of potential culprits made the case feel impossible to solve, and for the detectives, it was a nightmare of leads that led nowhere. One of the most infamous names that would haunt the case for decades was Dr. George Hodel, a wealthy Los Angeles physician. Known for his eccentric behavior and controversial reputation, Hodel would later become the subject of intense scrutiny. His own son, decades later, accused him of being the Black Dahlia killer, claiming that clues hidden in old family photographs and documents pointed directly to him. The allegations added a chilling layer to the mystery, blending family secrets with one of the city's darkest crimes. But Dr. Hodel was far from the only suspect. Others included men who had been involved in Elizabeth's social circles, aspiring actors, nightclub patrons, and even people working behind the glamorous facade of Hollywood. Some seemed to have the medical or technical knowledge needed to commit the precise, surgical mutilation that shocked investigators. Others were suspected simply because of circumstantial evidence or a history of violence. Each new name seemed to deepen the mystery rather than bring clarity. The police and public alike became obsessed with the idea that someone close to the Hollywood scene could have done this. Was it a man of power, someone who thought they could escape justice because of their status? Or was it a stranger, passing through the city with no ties, whose mind was as dark as the crime itself? Each theory carried its own weight, fueling countless books, documentaries, and debates that continue even today. Yet, despite all the suspicion, interrogations, and mounting theories, no one was ever charged. The killer, or killers, remained ghost-like, slipping through every net the police tried to cast. The suspects, real or imagined, became part of the legend of the Black Dahlia, a reminder that sometimes in Los Angeles, even the most detailed investigations can end with more questions than answers. Elizabeth Short's life in Los Angeles placed her right at the crossroads of ambition, glamour, and danger. She moved through the city's nightlife with hope in her heart, mingling with aspiring actors, servicemen, and young dreamers who, like her, wanted to make it big. But behind the bright lights and glittering parties, there were shadows, people who were charming on the surface but carried secrets darker than the night itself. Some theorists believe that the precision of the mutilation pointed to someone with knowledge of anatomy, perhaps a doctor or someone with medical training. Others argue that the killer could have been part of Hollywood's inner circle, someone who understood the world of stagecraft, props, and sets, someone capable of methodically planning and executing a crime while knowing exactly how to leave no trace. The idea that Hollywood itself could hide such darkness only added to the city's mystique and the public's fascination. Elizabeth's connections, though seemingly innocent, made her vulnerable. She met influential people, visited nightclubs, and attended parties where the lines between ambition and exploitation were often blurred. Some of her acquaintances later reported odd behaviors or strange interactions with men who seemed fixated on her. In a city obsessed with appearances, it was easy for danger to lurk unnoticed beneath smiles and polite conversation. The allure of Hollywood and the shadows it cast became intertwined in her story. People couldn't help but wonder if someone with access to wealth, influence, or the secrets of the film world might have seen Elizabeth as a threat, or simply an opportunity. Her ambition may have unknowingly drawn her into a dangerous orbit, a reminder that in a city of dreams, ambition can sometimes come with a deadly cost. Even today, the Hollywood connection continues to intrigue investigators, writers, and true crime enthusiasts. It paints a haunting picture, a young woman chasing stardom, a city of dazzling lights hiding sinister forces, and a killer, or killers, who might have walked the same streets, blending in among the hopefuls, unseen, untouchable, and never caught. Nearly 8 decades have passed since that cold morning in January 1947, yet the murder of Elizabeth Short continues to haunt Los Angeles and captivate the world. Books, films, and documentaries have revisited the case countless times, each one offering a new theory, a new suspect, or a shocking revelation, but none have provided closure. The Black Dahlia remains a symbol of mystery and tragedy, a story that refuses to fade with time. What makes the case so haunting is not just the brutality of the crime, but the way it seems to defy resolution. Evidence was scarce, leads ran cold, and suspects slipped through the cracks. Every new clue, every confession, every tantalizing theory seemed to lead only to dead ends. For detectives and amateur sleuths alike, the Black Dahlia became the ultimate puzzle, one that demanded answers but offered none. The fascination with Elizabeth's story endures because it taps into something universal, the dark side of human nature, and the vulnerability of dreams. Elizabeth came to Los Angeles with hope, like so many others, yet her ambition intersected tragically with forces she could not control. Her murder reminds us that even in a city of glittering lights, shadows can lurk in unexpected places, and sometimes innocence meets brutality without warning. Over the decades, the case has inspired countless theories about who might have killed her. Was it a drifter? A jealous acquaintance? A member of Hollywood's elite? Or someone who slipped quietly back into society, never caught, yet leaving behind a legacy of fear and obsession? The truth remains locked away, buried beneath layers of speculation, sensationalism, and unanswered questions. And yet, the story of the Black Dahlia continues to grip our imagination. Every new generation hears the tale, reads the headlines, and wonders the same thing: could justice have been possible, or was Elizabeth Short destined to remain a ghostly figure in the annals of American true crime? Her case is more than a murder, it's a reflection of the darkness that sometimes lurks behind the dream of Los Angeles, a mystery that refuses to die, no matter how many years pass. The story of the Black Dahlia isn't just about one murder, it's about a city of dreams and darkness colliding. Elizabeth Short came to Los Angeles with hope in her heart, chasing stardom like so many others. But her life was cut brutally short, leaving behind a mystery that has haunted generations. Nearly 80 years later, the question still lingers: who killed Elizabeth Short? Was it a twisted stranger, a figure from Hollywood's glittering underworld, or someone so close that the truth will never be known? Every theory, every suspect, every new clue adds layers to the legend, yet the final answer remains just out of reach. Her name may be remembered as the Black Dahlia, but behind the nickname was a young woman full of dreams, ambition, and life, snatched away too soon. And that is what makes her story unforgettable, terrifying, and endlessly fascinating. So the next time you walk the streets of Los Angeles, think of the shadows hiding between the lights, the secrets lurking behind every door, and remember, some mysteries are never meant to be solved, and some killers are never caught.